Hello, my name's Adam Davidson, owner of Dental Digital. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the best methods that you and your team can use to follow up and get in touch with your inquiries that come through from your online platforms, such as social media platforms. If you're a dentist and you're running Facebook and Instagram advertisements for your treatments and you're looking to generate new patients, you may want to give this a listen because you may be having the problem at the moment that you're not able to get hold of a lot of people. It's a very common issue. So let's say you're running a Facebook campaign. Let's say you get a lot of leads through. A lot of those leads you may not be able to get hold of. Maybe they don't answer the phone and maybe they don't call you back, etc. So give this a listen, and it really should up your numbers in terms of percentage wise on how many people you actually get hold of and book in. So in the background you can see here I have how to follow up with online inquiries, the best methods to get in contact with the majority of new inquiries that come through social media campaigns. Now the most common issue with Facebook and Instagram advertising is, in fact this is what I hear all the time, we can't seem to get hold of the lead, or they just don't pick up the phone, or they don't call back, etc, etc. Okay, so there's some things that you can put in place that will really kind of eradicate a lot of those problems. So give this a listen, and like I said, it should help you out. There's 4 key stages to successful follow-up. First one is the speed of response. Okay, so how fast you actually ring or contact that lead. The second one is the method of response, so what you're using to get hold of that potential lead. That's very, very important. The times to contact after the first attempt, so if you don't get hold of them the first time, it's when you contact them after that, which will increase your chances of getting hold of them. And the fourth point here is how many times to contact after the first attempt. So many practices will only call them 2 or 3 times afterwards, and that's actually not enough in terms of follow-up. You're probably missing out on a lot of those people, so I'm going to touch on that all in this video. So the first one, speed of response. It's important you try to aim to get in contact with the leads within 5 to 30 minutes. This is kind of a rule across the industry, you could say. Even though this may be hard, maybe your team are busy, but let's say you receive a new lead for Invisalign. The sooner you can call that person, the more chance you have of getting hold of them the first time. Because when they fill out the advertisement there and then, they're actually obviously free at that moment. Okay, so they have time on their hands, they have spare time, most of the time anyway. So if you call them within 5 to 30 minutes, you're going to have a much better chance of actually them answering the phone and knowing who is calling them. I've seen this work. If you can do that and you can sort of have that as a general rule within the practice, you'll find that you'll get hold of a lot more people within that time frame. I've seen a lot where practices will, they will get a lead through and they will think, okay, I'll just call them later, or I'll call them the next day. Oftentimes that doesn't work because the person is either no longer interested, or they don't remember what it is that they've done, or they're just busy. Okay, so you want to call them within that time if you can. That will get rid of a lot of those sort of no responses. I actually put here 50% more likely to get hold of them if you call them from a mobile. So here's another sort of extra tip. A lot of practices call from the practice landline. Obviously, if you only have that number available, of course, you still call them from that number. The problem is with that, a lot of people don't answer sort of formal numbers, you could say, or landline numbers. They thought that it may be a sales call. I've actually found that the response rate is a lot higher if you call from a mobile number. So if you have a practice mobile, call from the mobile number instead. Much more chance that they will answer the phone. If you mix those 2 things together within 5 to 30 minutes and call them from a mobile, you'll see the response rate a lot higher. The second point I've got here is the method of response. So this is how you actually get hold of these people. So it's best to call these leads as it adds a human touch. Okay, so it's actually best to call them. So what I've seen practices do before is just email them or text them or whatever without actually calling them first. So you want to call them. It adds, like I said, human touch. It builds trust. And if the call goes unanswered, you can still email them, and you can also text them on WhatsApp. So this is another very powerful method. Not many dentists use this, but if you have a practice mobile and you have WhatsApp, I would suggest you create a business WhatsApp, okay? Because you can create it and you can make it look nice. It can be super professional, but it's also very, very personal. It's a personal touch, and not many dentists do it. So if you actually follow up with someone by texting them or even voice noting them on WhatsApp, you're going to be standing out amongst your competition. And not only that, people, they check their WhatsApp messages much more than they do their emails or just their normal messages. So again, the likelihood of them getting back to you and responding when you add a WhatsApp message in there is so much higher. Also, you have the ticks on WhatsApp as well. Obviously, you can see whether they've read your message or not, and you can decide, what action you take from that point. So I've also put here, like I just mentioned, you can leave them a voice note, something many dentists don't do, but it will add a superhuman personal touch to your follow-up, and it will just have you stand out a lot. And the people will respect that, and they feel obliged to get back to you because the amount of effort that you're putting in to get hold of them and the amount of personal effort you're putting in, when really you're just texting them on WhatsApp. I've put here just some statistics. Email open rate is around 22% on average. These are just sort of across the board statistics. And text message response rates around 98%. It may be a little bit less than that, but I know it's in the 90s. and sort of average around 98%. So if you actually text them, you'll have a much better response rate than an email would. Now, the next point I've got here is times to follow up after first attempt. So follow up, as I've put here in the background, and persistence is key. Okay, this is where you will see the majority of your bookings in terms of the ones who are not getting hold of you first time, okay, or you're not getting hold of first time. It's in the follow-up. It's in persistence, it's in consistent calls and sort of methods of follow-up, okay? So I've put here, if they don't answer, send them a text message straight away and then an email, and if they don't, get back to that, you can actually call them the next morning and then call them throughout the day the next day. Okay, I've actually got some times here that's best to call them if you can't get hold of them the first attempt. I've found it's between 8:45 in the morning to 10 a.m, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m, or 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. But you can test it and see what works best for you. But that's what I have found works the best in terms of people responding. There's some times for you to follow if you don't get hold of them. Test that out and see how that works. But again, it's persistence. This is really what's going to get you the responses. Now I've got a summary here. So just to sum up a few points, I'm going to show you an overall flow of this. Number one, be quick. Okay, that's the main key here, is being quick when they actually inquire. Be persistent. They've given you the permission to contact them. I actually say contact them around 6 to 8 times after, before you completely, sort of write them off. Call them 6 to 8 times because they've given you permission to call them. They're the one who's filled out your, your form or whatever it is you're doing to get their information. They're the ones who's saying that they want the consultation or they want to be spoken to. So don't be shy to call them many times. Okay, call from a mobile phone if you can. Like I mentioned, you'll get a lot more responses by doing that in general, and mix all methods together. So when you are following up 6 to 8 times after, or times afterwards after the first attempt, you can mix in voicemails, WhatsApp messages, emails, just normal text messages, phone calls. Mix it all together, okay? Because if you do that, you're going to get hold of the most of them, and people will feel obliged to get back to you, which is only fair, to be fair, because they filled out your advertisement in the beginning, so they should really get back to you, okay? So I just want to show you a example flow here, okay, of how this would work. So let's say, for example, you're running an Invisalign campaign and you're inviting people for a consultation at your practice, just for example, and you generate 100 leads in the month, let's say. Now, if you call most from a mobile within 30 minutes, you can get around 60%, sometimes even higher than that, of people answering. Okay, so just to be sort of conservative here, I've just put 60%, just for sort of this example's sake. Don't get me wrong, this may be different for you, it may be higher, it may be a little bit less, but this is just in general how it would work. So you get 100 leads, 60% answer. You've got 40 leads left who haven't answered. Now, there's 3 different things you can do from this point. You can send them a WhatsApp message, which I'd 100% suggest and recommend. You can then voicemail them through, let's say, phoning them again, because you do want to phone them a second time as well, and then if they don't answer, they can listen to your voicemail, and then you can email them. Now, I've just put some rough statistics here, but if you WhatsApp message them, around 50% could reply to that. I've seen higher numbers than that, actually, because again, it works so well. If you call them a second time, in actual fact, I haven't included a second call in this, but if you do call them a second time, you may get the answer the second time, which could add on an extra, or could wipe off an extra 10 to 15%. But just in this example, I've just put voicemail. So if you voicemail people, not many people get back to it, but there are the small percentage of people who will listen to the voicemail and actually call you back. This is what I've found anyway. I just put here 5% will call you back, and then if you email people, you may get 10% of people responding to the email or calling you back when they've seen the email. Okay, so overall, if you add that up, you've got 14 leads left. So by this point, you've done really well. You've pretty much done the majority of the leads, and that's just within the first day or two. But then once you've got 14 leads left, that's when they go into the 6 to 8 attempts after. So that can go over the next week or so. And then, that's obviously mixing different things together. And if you do that persistently and you keep at it, you will get hold of 50%, even more, of those leads who are not answering, or maybe less. But if it is less than that, then those people are no good anyway. Which will leave you obviously with 7 leads in this example, which then you can add to an email list. And this is something I haven't actually sort of touched on in this video, but what you can do is all the people you get through who you're never able to get hold of, which there always will be that section of people, you can actually put them into an email list, and then maybe you can actually sort of send them emails a couple months from now, just with promotions and different things. Because when they actually, if you're running your advertisements properly, when they fill out your lead generation form, or they fill out your landing page or your website, you can actually gather their information where they're giving you permission to use their email to contact them. Okay, so a lot of people I've seen in the past where practices have generated a list of 100 or so people who they could never get hold of, and then they promote back to those people a couple months from there through email, through text message, and they're able to get a lot more or a lot of those people who never responded in through the doors. Okay, so I hope that helped. That's just an overview of a follow-up strategy you can put in place. This will ensure you get hold of a lot more people. And if you can teach this to your team and you have it in place and you have it down packed and you just have this running, you will see a lot more responses from people coming from your online efforts and your online advertisements. I do have a PDF document that has all of this information sort of packed together. So if you want me to send that over to you, I can do as well. Thank you.